Alright guys, welcome to episode number 10 of Tardis Talk, in which we'll be recapping what happened in the latest episode, Face the Raven, which seen the demise of our beloved Clara, who after becoming more and more like the Doctor, did the most Doctor-like thing and gave her life so another could live. So Elle, trying to hold back the tears, what did you make of Clara's final episode?
I think I'm still in a state of grief, shock, because I can't come to terms with it. It was a really, really beautiful episode. I know going into it, off record, I said to you, because I had so high hopes of the episode, I was kind of worried how, because I think we gathered Clara was probably going to go, and I was a bit worried how they'd do it, but for all they didn't do a lot of the things we thought might happen, with our theories and stuff. It was still a really beautiful episode, and the soundtrack and just the performance from Jenna Coleman, it was probably one of the best episodes I've seen in Doctor Who in God knows how long.
Yeah, it was. I totally agree with you on that. I think it was a really good episode. I mean, I watched it back, and second time watching it, I think I just got so into it that it felt even bigger the second time around. The first time, we knew something was going to happen with Clara, and this was going to be her final episode, and that it kind of took it away from us a little bit, because I was so focused on when that was going to happen, how it was going to happen. And just watching it back, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really good episode. And leading up to the death scene, it was just it was so emotional, losing Clara after all this time. And we've already lost so many Claras in the past, but this one especially, it was just really well done. And I think overall, the episode itself, it was quite well written. I liked the street itself and the fact that Shilna took it upon herself to kind of look after all these people that had come together seeking asylum. And then with the Raven in there and Shilna having the shade, I thought it was a really good written story. I think there was lots of different elements to it. And I'm sure some of the elements we'll probably see again in maybe the next, the end of the next episode or the finale. I think some of these things could come back into it.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised on anything. It's just a subtle thing. There was that whole theme of mercy again, which we've seen countless times throughout the series. Obviously, there was death with Clara. I definitely agree. Watching it the second time around, because I knew things were going to happen, I could just absorb every second of the episode and kind of pace myself what was going to happen, even though I near enough cried again. But I know we've spoken about this before recording this, and BBC have got this really kind of annoying thing where they kind of give these moments away. In last week's episode for the next time trailer for this episode, it kind of showed you glimpses of Clara's departure, and for me, I think if I hadn't have seen that, I wouldn't have gone in waiting for Clara to die, or maybe she was going to die. And I think I would have preferred that shock factor. It's something they did as well with Time of the Doctor, where they announced Capaldi was going to come in, and I just remember watching it, and I was waiting for Capaldi to come in, and I kind of I didn't focus on Matt's last episode until I watched that back again. So it kind of reminded me a lot like that, but I can't fault the episode at all, because it, like you say, it was done really, really well. And just that whole soundtrack where Clara was going, where they had elements of her theme, and it was really daunting and dark, and I don't have any problems with that. It was beautiful, and like you say, probably one of the best episodes in a long time.
It was so well done. I think Murray Gold, everything he does, all the music he composes, it just fits so well. The guy's an absolute genius, and it adds so much to that scene. I can't imagine that scene in others without that music in there. It just adds so much to it, and it was beautifully well done. But I totally agree with your point about the BBC showing us what's going to happen in the future, because we've got it so many times before, and it does kind of take away from it. I think the surprise factor of something happening, especially a big shock like that, it gets people talking, and it's oh my god, did that just happen? What happened? And it makes you want to kind of talk about it and what's happened. Whereas when you get that reveal early on and you know something's going to happen, I can understand why they would do it in terms of getting people to watch in the first place, knowing something's going to happen. But I spent the entire episode, I just mentioned before, the first time I watched it, second guessing what was going to happen and how she was going to die. And we've spent the entire season just plotting out how Clara's going to die with it's been so dark, because every single week we've been trying to kill Clara off with all these different methods. We've made her ill and all kinds of different things, but I think ultimately it does, like you say, it takes away from it because you're more engrossed in that and how it's going to happen as opposed to the episode itself. So I think that is something they do quite often. I would really prefer the shock factor.
Yeah, definitely. And like, kind of like when the countdown started on Clara's neck and we knew that she's possibly going to die, I just remember thinking, right, my mind kind of like went into overwork. She hugged the doctor and I'm thinking, right, he's put his finger on the back of her neck, he's going to have the shade. That didn't happen. I thought, well, maybe they're going to do something with the stasis pod, and it didn't really touch upon it again, and that was that. And then the Raven flew like towards Clara, and it was the first time we saw the effect, and it kind of reminded me of like a teleportation thing.
Yeah.
So I thought, oh, well, maybe the Ravens like passed through her, and then it all just like collapsed when the smoke came out of her mouth, and I was like, right, she is dead.
Well, it took so long for that to happen though as well, didn't it? Like when it flew into her, I was like, did that just teleport as well? Did it actually go into her? And there was such a long period where she was standing there with her arms out. I was like, hang on, nothing's happening. And I don't know if it was like just because they slowed it down or because I was experienced it and I was like so engrossed in it, it felt a lot longer than it actually was. And when she had her arms out, I was just like, please regenerate, please regenerate. She was doing the regeneration pose and I was just waiting for that to happen, and it didn't happen. We had like the smoke come out and she collapsed on the cobblestone. All over. No more Clara.
I think that was the thing, like, it was really, really slow, and like I said, like, I was waiting for like anything, and I didn't even notice like the regeneration pause, and I'm glad I didn't, because I probably would have freaked out and then probably cried. But like, like you say, as soon as that smoke came out, it wasn't like a sigh of release, it was like, she is gone and goodbye Clara. And then like they had that the end of the piece, which was kind of a lot like her theme, but like a slowed down version, and it just kind of felt like it was breaking my heart, and it was done so well, and it wasn't something like overly dramatic, like say if someone had been shot.
Yeah,
it was just, I don't know, like it's just a really beautiful scene, and her acting, even though she didn't say anything in those closing moments, just like the slow motion and everything, I don't know, it was just phenomenal in my opinion.
You could just see it on her face, couldn't you? Like the way she was doing, she didn't really have to say anything, and it was just that reaction of knowing what was coming, but at the same time being brave and just taking it and not being like everyone else where they run away from it. And that was what I loved. It was so Clara, and she just kind of accepted her fate.
Definitely, and it probably sounds so geeky, but like even now, just remembering those moments, like it's giving me goosebumps like all over again. Even the second time watching it, like my gut was wrenching because it was done so well, and it's definitely going to be in my top 3 or 5. There's no doubt about that.
What, Clara moments or just Doctor Who moments?
Doctor Who moments. She's easily taken over like every companion at this point.
It's got to be up there. I mean, it was such a good scene, and I mean, it leaves with Clara lying there dead, but I guess the first of this week's talking points, is she really dead? What do you make on it? Is this the last that we've seen of Clara? And what did you make of her death itself? Was it fitting the way that she gave up her life to save Rigsy? Because we've already seen so many other Clara deaths, and giving up her life for the Doctor when she entered the time stream. How did this compare with those ones?
I know, like, when I spoke to you, like, after it died, you weren't, like, as fussed on it as me, but, like, I kind of loved how, like, kind of understated it was, like, she knew she'd made the mistake, and her blood wasn't, like, on anyone's hand, because nobody was supposed to die, and it was because she's become so reckless and so doctor-like, and she isn't indestructible, that she caused her own death, and she kind of took that, like, in her stride, and she didn't go in it with pride, but I don't know, like, that whole notion for me was, like, really, really powerful. And then to add just, like, the soundtrack and things onto it, it was, like, I don't know, like, for all I wanted something really amazing, like, with the echoes and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of don't know now, like, how they could have grabbed, like, my heart or whatever and done something so beautiful if they had, like, made it over the top, I think, because it was so, like, understated. I don't know, it hit me a lot more.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Like you said, the first time I watched it, I didn't really feel it as much because I wasn't as into what was going on, I guess. I was too like focused on Clara herself. And when I watched it back and I really did sort of take it all in the second time, I was like, you know what? She didn't like do something as big as giving up her life for the Doctor, what we've seen before. But we've seen her become more and more like the Doctor. And like I mentioned in the intro, I think it was a very Doctor-like thing that she did by taking on that sort of burden and taking the shade for Rigsy, knowing that she was saving him. Even if it was stupid and it was reckless, and I guess she did expect the Doctor to save her anyway. But I just thought it was like a really cool moment to see Clara do that. And it's something that we're seeing across the entire season. She is like stepping up to becoming a Doctor. And I think overall, it has cost her. It's the reason behind it. It's no one else's fault. It's all been down to Clara. And I'm sure we mentioned this in some of the early episodes of TARDIS Talk, and that was Clara kind of having a death wish or suffering from PTSD following Danny's death. I don't think she ever really got over that, because she was rushing into all these adventures and just wanting to quickly go to the next one. So I don't really think she had too much regard for herself, and I think maybe that's also played a part in this, and that seems to be what the sort of creators have been saying as well.
I kind of liked as well how they brought like Danny back into it, because if you do compare the two deaths, for all Danny had already died, but like when you have him like giving up his Cyberman life or whatever to protect the human race, it's like they are really like close like deaths, and it was just done so well. And I don't know, I liked how, like you said, how she didn't go out like in like sort of an action scene. Fair enough, her reckless actions were the cause of her death, but it was kind of subtle for all it was something big. It wasn't over the top, and like I said, I just appreciated it a lot more that it was a lot more focused on the character and the fact that Clara, she, for all obviously she would be devastated she was going to die, she just took it in her stride. She knows she did wrong, and I think that made her a lot more powerful to me and even more Doctor-like.
Yeah, it did. She like really accepted that it was her fate and that was how it was going to go down. And one of the things I really loved, and I really love about Clara, is the fact that she knew she was going to die and she accepted it, but she could see that the Doctor hadn't. And her speech to him, telling him not to seek vengeance, which was what was on his mind, and that's not very Doctor-like, then I thought that was like a really well done moment as well. And it'll be interesting to see if the Doctor honours that memory of Clara and does that, or if maybe his emotions will get the better of him and he will do something to maybe change what's going on, seek vengeance. I don't know. I think we'll probably see something like that come into it, where he does battle with these emotions.
I loved how like they brought that up as well, like in the past, like when it was David Tennant, like he kind of went on like this reckless journey like in the specials because of like, say like Donna had left, and he kind of like rebelled, and there was a lot of that in like the start of the series, like with the woman who lived and what the Doctor did and stuff. And I like how Clara, even though she was gonna like about to die, she still took the time to like care for everyone else around her and kind of like leave their lives, but still helping them, even like with the cue cards when they brought that back. I think that kind of said to me at the start of the episode as well that Clara possibly won't make it if the cue card's back again already.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. I mean, overall, I really loved this episode and the way that she went out and everything that's gone on with it. I think it's just been so well done. It's all come together so well. But kind of moving on to the next talking point, we've talked so much this season about killing Clara and how we're going to do it. How now are we going to save Clara? How do you say her? How can we resurrect her? How can we bring her back to life? There's got to be something. What's your theory on this? Because I think we've probably got a couple of different ways we could do it. What's your first one? What's the most likely in your opinion?
I think, well, I've kind of got two that are possibly likely. I'm thinking maybe the stasis pod or something's kind of connected, because there was the woman who was dead apparently, but she was in the stasis pod and alive. Maybe they'll do something with that. Or I was kind of thinking, because we kind of know the Time Lords are going to come back like at the end of the series.
Yeah.
I was wondering maybe that for all everything Clara's done, like, because essentially she saved Gallifrey, like she put their thought and whatever into the Doctor's head, and she kind of like, well, we said it in the Clara, especially she kind of made the Doctor who he was meant to be, and she's done so much, just far too much to talk about. But I kind of think maybe that, because if the Time Lords were behind what happened in this episode, which I kind of think they might have been, maybe that I don't know if they'll resurrect her as such, but maybe, I don't know, I dare say that if Clara's going to come back, it'll be something to do with them. Yeah,
I could totally like see something like that happening with them. And to be honest, without Clara, would the Time Lord still be there? Because it was her that put that idea in the Doctor's head, or the Doctor's heads, in the 50th. So without her, he wouldn't have actually put them all into this pocket universe. They would have all been destroyed with the Daleks. So I think they've got a lot to kind of thank Clara for. And, you kind of thank her more and bring her back to life. So I would totally go with that option. I think there's a few different things we can do. Like, it could be like a temporary death, and we've seen temporary deaths before with Rory, because he died a few times and he always come back. So maybe Clara could be like the same kind of thing. She is the impossible girl. So maybe we can say I come back to life by the Doctor, maybe not honouring what she said and wanting to change things. So I could see him really going back in time and changing some interactions so that whatever happens, it changes the way that things played out, and Clara does actually survive. It's kind of like the theory, the sort of mentions that we've got all across the season, where it's come in and it says that the Doctor can make these ripples, but he can't make these tidal waves. But he did with the Shilda, and when he's done that, ultimately that's led to Clara's death. So I think he's probably feeling a bit aggrieved about that, and he feels that maybe the universe owes him one again, because he was the one that made that change in the first place. So if he makes another change to correct it, then maybe Clara can live. Could you see them going down that route and maybe changing something in the past to change the events that we've seen happen?
I definitely don't think they'd be a stranger to it. The only thing I kind of think they might not, and it kind of comes from whether, like you said, whether the Doctor will kind of honour Clara's wishes, like, will he let her go out being brave and things, or kind of not against her will per se, but will he go back and change things? I definitely think it's probably something from what we've seen in the next episode. I think it's something that'll maybe cause conflict, like, in the next episode, and he'll be constantly thinking about, can he do this, can he do that? Because I don't think he's ready to let go of Clara just yet, and I think that's kind of why he didn't have an awful lot to say, and he kind of didn't react, and he didn't even, which I thought was interesting, he didn't even offer to take the shade from Clara. It all happened, like, really fast.
Yeah, it did. It just all went over really, really fast. I don't know how I feel about this, because in a way, if he does go back and he changes something, like you say, I think we'll probably get that scene where he sort of battles with himself, where he doesn't know whether to respect Clara's wishes or go with his own urges to change things and make her survive. But what I would really ask, though, is if he does go back and change things and Clara lives, does it take away from what we've seen here? Do you think maybe some things like this, and maybe when they're done so beautifully and so well, it's better to keep them in place than go on and change things just so that she lives and she could maybe pop back in the future?
I think this is the thing, and this is literally what we just spoke about, like, prior to recording, like, because it was done so well. Like, if she survives, it kind of takes away from the episode, and, like, when you watch it back, you'll know, well, she doesn't die, so, like, there's no need to get upset.
Yeah.
But if she has died, it kind of retains that. The only thing coming from if she is dead, we've got far too many, like, unexplained, like, questions and things that kind of do need addressing, like, before the series is over, like, kind of with the echoes. I think for me, the only way that I really like it and a lot of closure is maybe something with the echoes where the Doctor will maybe kind of like when it was David Tennant's last series where he went back and, like, visited his companions, but, like, they were in earlier times or whatnot. I'd kind of like Capaldi to go visit maybe one of the echoes or something, and then kind of for her to pretend she doesn't have a clue who he is, and then tease something right at the very end. So you've always got that question as, did Clara, like, always know or whatever, something like that, but something that doesn't need a stamp on it, and it could easily be brought back, like, later on down the line. Yeah,
that'd be quite a cool way to go out if we see him sort of visit Clara in the future. He could even have, like, conversation with one of her splinters, just to say, I have that chance to go back and change something that happened, and sort of see what her take is on it. Not obviously telling her the whole story and things, but just what she would do if she would go back and change things, or if she thinks that things are really, they're supposed to play out a certain way and it's better to just move on. So I think maybe something like that, a scene like that, could maybe explain what he does and whether he does that or not. I think that would be quite cool. As for any other things, I don't really know. There's so many different things. You mentioned the stasis pod. maybe that could be brought into it, like you said. I think they could maybe store her in there, maybe, and sort of keep her until she is collected, like they'd mentioned with that other woman that was supposedly dead. And then, I don't know, maybe you can find signs of life. We can try anything here just to bring her back to life. But like you said, I don't know if it really takes away from the episode if she does come back, because we'll be watching it back knowing that there is nothing else to this afterwards. Because she comes back, we don't have to get bothered about it, we don't have to sit there crying anymore. I think it would take away from it. If she was to come back in as Clara herself, I think the only way it could now be done is if it's a past Clara before this moment. Not necessarily a different Clara, but the same Clara, just from a different point in time before she died. So I think that's probably the only way I could really see it.
I think for me, like I said, the only way I think she'll maybe survive is, say, I'll stick with my Time Lord theory, or the stasis, or maybe even those lurkworms.
Well, I think that is like the other option, because the lurkworms, they give you that perception of something that wasn't really there. So throughout the episode, we've seen all these different alien species that appeared to be human. So I guess one theory that we could go with is the death that we've seen of Clara. Maybe that didn't actually happen. Maybe that wasn't a death. Maybe that was just our perception of it. Is that kind of your take on this? Could we go down that route?
Yeah, definitely. And I kind of think if that was to happen, even that's kind of like Dr. like we've had with the Tesselector and things. You could easily compare that to like a lurkworm avoiding death. But like I say, it'd probably take an awful lot away from that death. And do I want it? For all I want Clara to live. It's funny because like before we did the Clara special, like in my notes I wrote about Clara lying dead on the floor. Mm-hmm. And then at the very end, like after the credits, like some regeneration, like energy flowing out of her fingers or whatnot. And then after this episode, I like thought about that again, and I was like, I don't think I want it to happen. Like, it was done so well. Like, do I want it to take away our? It's a funny situation.
Yeah, it really is. Like, we don't know how to go with this. I kind of question, maybe, could she be the hybrid? Could she be this Dalek Time Lord hybrid that Davros was speaking about? Because we've seen her in the time stream and we never got any repercussions of how that affected her. We've also seen her inside a Dalek, and you know, we don't know how that's affected her. Could this lead to her being the hybrid? And could, I don't know, maybe she'll regenerate because of that? Could she be like a Dalek where she's genetically engineered now, her DNA has been altered so that she cannot die? Are these just us grasping at straws, or could you see something like that?
I think that's the thing. I think it could literally be like us just thinking of things. Like, I know we spoke about, like, we were literally finding like any little thing to just keep Clara alive, even though we possibly don't want her to be alive. And it's strange. Like, I think for me, the way I'm going to look at it is Ashilda is the hybrid, and maybe because we know she's got the Tardis key and she's got the confession dial, and say if Clara is alive, maybe that because of what happened to Clara and she nearly did die, maybe Ashilda will send Clara off in the TARDIS, because we know she can fly it and things, with the confession dial, and maybe Clara will fly the TARDIS to wherever the Doctor is. We haven't got a clue and it's impossible to work out. And maybe if she somehow ends up on Gallifrey looking for the Doctor, maybe that'll be, I don't know, like, I'm literally clutching at straws just to keep Clara alive, and I can't think of one thing that I want it to be. I kind of think we might get the explanation that because of what the Doctor's been through and he's very human, like maybe he'll be the hybrid.
He could be. He could still be like the outside chance and the one that people don't really expect to be. But like you said, I think Ashilda, the Doctor himself, he's called her a hybrid in the past. So I think she is like someone that could really be the hybrid. We don't know if she's going to be back in the season again, this like for the final 2 episodes. But it kind of goes back to what we said before about them spoiling the fact that she was going to be in it, because we didn't necessarily know she was going to be in a 3rd episode for Face the Raven. So I think we could maybe get a surprise appearance from her. I'd be surprised if she didn't pop up at least in a scene in the finale. Yeah. So I don't think we've really seen the last of her. What did you make of Ashilda in this episode? Did you think she was evil? Was she good? Because it was kind of mixed. I didn't really know how to take her. I didn't know if she was supposed to be this good character or an evil character, because she seemed to be doing quite a lot of good in keeping this trap street, so she had all these inhabitants coming in, giving them a place of refuge. And I guess at the end of the day, all she was trying to do is keep them safe, keep the streets safe. And if that meant offering up the doctor to keep the peace and keep that street from all hell breaking loose, then it kind of puts her in a like strange situation. Should she do that? Should she honour the people that she's looking after? Or should she honour the doctor to give her this eternal life, but hasn't been around for hundreds of years?
I think she was like a really, really interesting character, like in this episode. Like even if you don't listen to what she says and you just kind of like watch her actions, like she almost seems like a blank slate. And then something like really like emotional happened, like with the old man where he took the countdown from his wife and whatever. She kind of had to stay strong for like the community. But then when his death came, like you kind of saw her break down a little, and then she had to compose herself and kind of like stay strong for the community. But then we find out like she's in a deal with some mystery person and she has to do what she has to do, otherwise there wouldn't be no street, and she kind of wouldn't be able to save those people. And it was kind of something we saw in The Woman Who Lived, and it was a lot of like reminiscent of that. And I'm kind of like warming to the character. I just wish we had one dimension for once instead of all these like little branching things coming off all the time.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sold on her character, but I think that's probably because I don't know if she's like good or if she's bad or what's going on. There's always like in between. It's never like clean cut.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think overall she was maybe quite good in this episode in terms of what she was doing. I do think it was like quite drastic. They were killing someone just because they tried to steal medicine or something to help the wife. I don't know, I think that is a bit over the top, and that then makes us question, she can't really be good if she's doing that. But you mentioned earlier about the worms and how it alters your perception. What I thought was, could it be a case that, you know, it goes back to Clara again, we're trying to save her, that she isn't dead because we've got this perception that the Ravens killed her, and the Ravens killed this man? Could it be that the worms altering the perception just give us and everyone on the street that perception that is what happens, that the Raven comes after you and then you die? But maybe that's not the case. Maybe you're paralysed or something like that, and Ishilda just exiles that person from the street. I think that would be like quite a cool way to go. It kind of makes it so that everyone on the street, the residents, they all think that's going to happen, and it puts that fear into them so that they don't break the rules. And it's a good way to kind of keep the peace. But at the end of the day, she's not actually killing anyone, because our plan in this episode wasn't for anyone to get hurt.
I definitely think it's like definitely possible, because throughout the thing you kind of realise like her intentions aren't bad. She's just following the rules to whoever put them in place. And I'm sure she got, for all like the dust or whatever was called the shade, I'm sure she says in the episode like she has a deal with the shade where if someone breaks rule she has to do that, otherwise there would be no street and things. So she's not completely evil, and I think that's why you see like her breakdown now and again, because she's doing things she didn't want to do, kind of like at the end of the episode of The Woman Who Lived, when the innocent people are being killed and whatnot. You kind of see this like major conflict within her, and like you say, I think it's something that was entirely through the episode, even though she comes across blank.
Yeah.
You have like these moments where her like compassion and things shine through, and it's kind of a lot like the Doctor.
It is. Like, it's a good comparison, because I'm sure in that kind of situation the Doctor would do some things, not necessarily kill someone, but like just do something that is a bit drastic in order to keep the peace. Like there's been plenty of times in the past where some alien species has invaded Earth and he's made a threat to them saying to leave now, otherwise you will do something. I'm kind of thinking back to the episode where David Tennant debuted, and he gave I can't remember the alien race in it, but he gave them the chance to leave, and they kind of went back on it, and he says that they don't get any second chances. And that was when I think he threw a tangerine off a button, which ended up killing someone. But I think that goes back to the same thing with the Ishilda. You know, the Doctor's prepared to do those things if it's like helping out overall and it's keeping that peace. So I can see Ishilda kind of being quite Doctor-like.
Yeah, and and like you say, she definitely doesn't oppose to doing like the major decisions what other people probably wouldn't do, and that comes with a lot of like what she's been through and how long she's been around and things. So I kind of like her as a character. I just wish there was a bit more personality with her.
Yeah, I completely agree on that. So I guess we've kind of covered Clara, we've covered Ishilda. Next question, next talking point. who is they and why do they want the Doctor? So we don't really have anything to go on this. It's all theories. Could it be the Time Lords? Is that what we're thinking?
I think that's kind of like what I'm leaning towards, because we know that at some point he's going to go back to Gallifrey, and surely the Time Lords are going to have some questions, especially with what the Doctor's done. Even Clara going in like the time stream, I'm sure they wouldn't be overly pleased with that. So I dare say they're going to want some answers. And it's curious, like, why they didn't want the Doctor or Clara or even anyone harmed. It's a strange situation. So I don't think it's going to be someone, say, like Davros or someone like really evil like that.
Yeah. Well, I think the Time Lords is a really good chance to be them, because we know the Doctor can't find Gallifrey. He's had a look for it, he's checked the coordinates that he was given, it wasn't there. But I guess we do know that the Time Lords have found this universe, because they're able to send that regeneration energy through. So they could be the ones that bring the Doctor to them, as opposed to the Doctor finding them on Gallifrey. So I think there's like a really good chance that that could be the case. Maybe that's where he's been teleported. Could he have been teleported to some, I don't know, some kind of prison on Gallifrey or something like that? Because it looks quite prison-like in the way that the castle is.
Yeah.
And it keeps on changing. It's like a puzzle that he's maybe got to solve. I don't really know what to take to it. So we're kind of moving into the next time trailer, because we don't really have too much to go on who they are. But I think the Time Lords is a good guess. What did you make of the trailer itself? Because we're seeing that he's getting chased by something. We've been told in the synopsis that that's the Veil.
It's like a really, really interesting one, and like you can't take like an awful lot from it, because there's literally so much there, but there's so little to go off. Like, the only thing I took from it was, whoever it is, did they know Clara was going to die? Because we have like the portrait of Clara and things.
Yeah.
It's like, if Clara wasn't supposed to go there, then why do they have a picture of Clara? Are we maybe going to get some answers for other things, or was she always like destined to die at this point?
Yeah, I totally agree on that point as well. I mean, seeing those pictures of Clara, it made me question what was going on, if someone knew what was going to happen to her. I think what I mentioned, and you laughed at us for this, but I thought watching the episode itself, well, watching the preview of the episode, this could all be taking place inside the Doctor's head, so he's kind of battling with himself, and that's why we've got the pictures in there of Clara, so the kind of memories, because it's on his mind, it's only just happened. And this is kind of the trial of the Doctor, but it takes place in his head, so he's battling with himself, or, I don't know, some kind of alien race that's managed to get in there is chasing him. And it's kind of just a battle to see if he overcomes this and he is still the good Doctor, or if his emotions take place. We see fear and hate come in, leads to the dark side, and that kind of takes over. So I thought that would be quite cool. But like you said, he teleported somewhere physically. So he didn't really teleport into his own head. That would be a bit messy, wouldn't it?
For the record, like, I didn't laugh at the theory. I just laughed at the fact that he said he teleported into his own head. I definitely think it'd be a really strong episode, and I think if he was in his own mind and that's where it's going to go, there would be some really dark moments, especially from what he's been through. And it could definitely be possible. I don't know how they're going to do it. Maybe it'll be kind of like a Dream Lord sequence or something.
Yeah. It could be something like that. I think that would be quite cool. I would like that if, you know, the Time Lords or someone had him and we realised that this was going on inside his head and it was a battle with himself and they were monitoring it to see how it plays out and if they can trust him, he's not going to do something reckless. I think that would be quite cool.
Yeah, definitely.
So I guess that covers our thoughts on the episode itself and a ton of ways we could potentially save Clara, but make sure to get involved and let us know your thoughts on all of this week's talking points, such as Clara, is she really dead? What did you think of Ashilda and what would you do in her position? And finally, what did you make of next week's trailer? Where's the Doctor being teleported to? And who are they? So let us know your thoughts in the comments so you can get in touch with us via Twitter at Tardis_talk. So make sure to let us know what you think as we look forward to hearing your thoughts. But until next time.
See you later.